So the GUI interface is a very nice feature. Okay, so looking at the interface of the Windows 8. Okay, Windows 8 did revamp everything. Okay, so it's calling its interface the Metro interface or Metro user interface UI. Okay, so again, the start screen is replaced the desktop when you boot up, and that start screen is going to contain some tiles. Okay, some of these tiles are going to be known as live tiles. So what this means is they'll actually update constantly. This would be like your mail, your weather, your news, stuff like that, where it's constantly getting those feeds. Other apps are just going to be just static apps like your Netflix, your Word, stuff like that. They're not going to change. They're just going to have an icon for that app. Okay, so obviously Windows 8, where they were going was touchscreen. So they thought that that's where most of the world was going, which it is, but they completely submerged themselves in touchscreen and didn't leave any option for anything otherwise. Okay, so that's where Windows 8 really kind of fell off and they had issues. So here's what it looks like. Okay, you can kind of see here. Here are some of this is one of the examples of a live app right here, where it's getting live information from the weather, whichever one you wherever location you choose from. Okay, and then you have other static ones like your people, your calendar, Internet Explorer that aren't going to change. They're going to stay the same. Okay, so in addition to these tiles, you also have this little button down here which would actually allow you to go and see every app that is currently installed within your Windows machine. Okay, so that way you can actually come back here and personalize these tiles. You can drag and drop these to rearrange them and put them into groups so that it's more comfortable for you to use. Okay, in addition to the start screen, we have charm bars that were added to Windows 8. Basically, this is a little menu that pops up on the right-hand side. You can get to it a couple different ways. You can move your mouse over to the right-hand side, and it'll pop up, or you can press Windows C on your keyboard when you're running Windows 8, and it'll pop up that way as well. Okay, so within these charms, okay, this A is showing you the charms right here. Okay, within these, you can see you've got a couple different options here: search, share, start, which is going to take you straight back to the start screen, devices, which is dealing with your printers, your mouse, your keyboard, stuff like that, and then settings. Okay, settings is going to open up this option here, over here in B and C. Okay, so you can see down here you got within settings you got like network, power, you've got keyboard, audio, all that kind of stuff. So this is one of the problems with Windows 8 was the fact that they actually added about 3 steps for you to power down the machine. So with standard Windows 8, you had to actually go in there and open up the charm, go to settings, go to power, and then choose whether or not you wanted to put it to sleep or if you wanted to shut down the machine. So with the release of Windows 8.1, they added the power icon right here. Okay, so this makes it obviously a little bit easier. So with this, you can just go click on that on the start screen, and then you can choose how you want to power down your machine, which makes it much nicer for most users. Okay, so moving on. So there still is a desktop in Windows 8. Okay, to access it, you have to actually click on the desktop tile within your start screen. Okay, and that's going to what it looks like is going to depend on what your desktop background is. Okay, it's going to allow you to personalize that. Okay, you can also get to it by clicking the Start button on your keyboard. Will generally take you to the desktop. If you click the Start button on your desktop, it will take you back to your start screen. Okay, so within your desktop, you have the normal stuff that you may have seen in Windows 7. You got the taskbar down at the bottom. Okay, just like you would in any normal Windows desktop. Okay, you have the notification area in the bottom right, which could also be known as the system tray or the sys tray. Okay, this one will give you any updates, allow you to have access to the action center, your volume, the clock, the date, stuff like that. Okay, so plus it'll let you know of any. Okay, sorry about that. I got interrupted real quick. But anyways, in addition to that, the notification area will also show you some of the programs that are running in the background, so that you kind of have an idea of what's going on within your computer that you may not see up front. Okay, so let's see. To launch a program from your desktop, there's a couple different ways you can do that. You can do it from the Start screen in Windows 8, where you actually click on the tile itself. You can also have Quick Launch menu, which is generally going to be located on the usually on the bottom taskbar. You can pin something to the taskbar, and then you can double-click on the program file in Windows File Explorer, or if you have a shortcut on the desktop, something like that. Okay. In addition to that, you can also do the run box, which will you actually. The only problem there, you'll have to know the program name plus where it might be located. So that one's usually not used as much anymore. Okay. So here's the Windows 8 desktop. Again, the desktop itself, if you kind of ignore the charms over here, is exactly the same. Your notification area is over here on the right. Okay, you got your recycle bin here. Windows 8.1 returns the start button. Okay, and here's a couple shortcuts pinned to the taskbar. Okay, and then you have the charm bar over here. So desktop hasn't really changed much there. There's not much to really have to pick up or learn. Okay, so as far as managing your desktop, so if you need to move stuff around, if you're familiar with some of the features of Windows 7, they're still here in Windows 8, which is kind of nice. Okay, so you can click and drag title bars to move windows around. If you drag it up to the top, it'll maximize the window. If you'll drag it to the left or to the right of the screen, it'll split the windows, so you can actually put windows side by side. And then it also has shake, which will, if you grab the title bar and shake that window, it'll minimize everything but the window itself. So all those are still present in Windows 7. I'm sorry, Windows 8. Okay, so Windows 7 desktop. Okay, this is the first one that's displayed whenever you boot up. Okay, with that, it's providing what it calls the Aero interface, which is a 3D interface. Okay, the Aero interface is not available in Starter and Home Basic. Like I mentioned, those two are still kind of restricted as far as some of the features they have. Okay, it requires 1 gig of RAM and a video card that supports Aero. Okay, now just a little disclaimer real fast. One thing that we'll kind of touch on in here when we look at installing is the fact that there is a huge difference between Windows required hardware and Windows recommended. Okay, what you'll find is that Windows required is basically the computer will install, it'll boot up, but it'll be painfully slow. Okay, so that's what that 1 gigabyte is referring to. Okay, and one of the things that got brought over from Windows Vista is gadgets. Gadgets are basically little applets or mini apps that are part of the desktop that add a few features. Like you can add a clock, you can add weather, news, you can add a CPU monitor. All that kind of stuff is available, as you can see here. Okay, the main difference between this and the one in Vista is that Windows 7, it doesn't matter where you put these gadgets. You can put them anywhere on the desktop. Windows Vista had them restricted to being right over here on the right-hand side and like a gadget bar. Okay, so that's one of the nice things. But you can see some of the gadgets that might be available here: the weather, clock, the CPU monitor. They got puzzles. I mean, they got all kinds of stuff that you can sit there and mess with if you want to. You can even search gadgets here to download additional ones from Microsoft. Okay, so we have the Start menu in Windows 7. Okay, you'll see, actually I'll just go ahead and skip over to this. You can see that you've got the username that's logged in right here. Okay, so this will tell you who's logged in. It'll have your user icon. It's going to have your library here, okay, which we'll talk about the library more in depth later. But essentially, that's just where you can get to all your user documents. Okay, in addition, some additional utilities or locations here, and then you have all the applications over here on the left. Okay, if you click on all programs, Windows 7 will actually keep everything inside this contained window. Okay, so it'll just expand folders within that window and everything like that. So it keeps everything nice and neat, and it doesn't sprawl off the screen like Windows XP used to, taking up your whole screen. Okay, so that's the first section, dealing with Windows interfaces, and we'll pick up here next with Windows tools, which will continue on with this chapter.